Hello, my algebra friends. This video is going to walk you through one of our very first exponent rules. So exponent rules are something I'm just going to try to expose you to the next 2 days. You don't need to feel like you're an expert at this at all. But I do want you to watch these videos and do the problems on a separate sheet of paper. You can just follow along and check your answers as we go. All right, so some vocab that we need to get started. First, we need to know what an exponent is. So hopefully we know that, but the exponent is this little number up here. Okay, so this little number here, and this little number here. That's what's called an exponent. And then another piece of vocabulary we need is the base. So this right here is the base. So in red are the bases, in yellow are the exponents. And what 5 to the 4th means, if I expand it out, means 5, whoops, let me get an actual pen, means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So there are 4 factors of 5 being multiplied together. Okay, so then likewise with x to the 6th, if I write this in expanded form, I would have 6 factors of x. What is that? 5, here's 6. Okay, so these are the exponents in yellow, and then the bases are in the red. Okay, so we are only going to learn one rule today, and we're going to learn 3 tomorrow. So here we go. All right, so the rule that we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about what to do if I have a negative exponent. So what we're going to try to start nice and slow. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to kind of model for you what I want you to do. I want you to find 2 to the 5th power. So if you go to find 2 to the 5th power in your calculator, you would hit the number 2 and then kind of catty corner from, I guess, the 9 and right above the divide sign, you're going to see a button on your calculator that looks like this. We call it a caret, and that will give you your exponent. So if you hit 2 caret 5 in your calculator and then hit enter, it will tell you that 2 to the 5th is 32. So I'm going to type in, or I'm going to just put 32 right there. Okay, and then I'm going to find 2 to the 4th. And so I would do 2, and then I can hit the caret button, and then 4. And that's going to tell me that it is 16. All right, so I want you to pause the video, and I want you to fill out up until the black line I just drew. So pause the video and finish the other 3, and then come back. Okay, so hopefully you pause the video and you have those values 8, 4, and 2. And so what I want to do now is I want to talk about, okay, well, what is the pattern that we see as we're going down this list here? So as we're going down this list, what is the pattern? And hopefully you see that as you go down each row, you are dividing by 2 each time. So we are dividing by 2 each time. So then let's continue to follow that pattern. So again, I want us to look that as we are decreasing our exponent, we are like multiplying by 1 less factor of 2. And so they're being divided by 2 each time. So then if I follow this pattern, okay, down here, 2 divided by 2 is 1. Well, then let's do it again. Let's divide 1 by 2. Well, that would be 1/2. If I divide by 2 again, I would have 1/4. And one more time, I would have 1/8. I want you to look and see how these numbers are so similar. When I had 2 to the -3rd, I had 1/8. When I just had 2 to the +3 or 2 to the 3rd, it was 8. Well, let's look at another one. Okay, well, when I had 2 squared, I had 4. But when I had 2 to the -2, I had 1/4. Those values will continue to match up. All right. So let's see what happens when we do the same thing with the values at the bottom of our screen. So we've got 3s and we've got 4s. I want you to fill that out and then or just kind of write that out on a piece of paper, see if you can observe the pattern, and then when you're finished, I want you to unpause the video, and then I want you to check your answers. All right, so hopefully you've unpaused, you're unpausing the video and you're checking your work, and you have these values on your screen, on your paper. And I want us to notice that just again, look at this. When I had 3 to the positive 1, I had 3. When I had 3 to the negative 1, it was 1 over 3. When I had 3 squared, I had 9. When I had 3 to the negative 2, I had 1 over 9. That pattern that we saw with the 2's above is happening again with the 3's. And we see it again over here with the 4's. All right, so something is happening when I have those negative exponents that's very similar to what's happening when I have a positive exponent. Okay, and so I want to talk about, I want us to write down what the rule is if I have a negative exponent. So the negative exponent rule tells us that we are not allowed to have a negative exponent. It is not considered simplified. It's not right. We can't have it. It is breaking the rules of math. No negative exponents. We can't have it. It's not allowed. Okay, so what we do when we have a negative exponent is we send it packing. Just like we don't like negative people, we don't like negative exponents, and we're going to vote them off the island. So let me show you what I mean. If I had the value 5 to the negative 3rd, I look at this and I go, uh-oh, I have a negative exponent. That is not allowed. So then I would just put it in the denominator and then leave a placeholder in the numerator of a 1 if there's nothing left up there. I'll show you what it looks like in just a minute if there is something left up there. So if I had something like x to the negative 4th, okay, uh-oh, I have a negative exponent. That's not allowed. So then I would move this downstairs and I would put a 1 as a placeholder there. So all negative exponents do is show me that I cannot have a negative exponent. And so if it's upstairs, it moves downstairs. And we're going to look at what happens if it's downstairs here in just a second. One other thing that I want to point out on this screen before we move on to the other one, and this is something we're going to talk about in class, and we're going to make some connections with our new unit here, but I want to show you, let's see, look right here, 3 to the 0 was 1, 4 to the 0 was 1, and even up here, 2 to the 0 was 1. So that's kind of a little interesting tidbit that we're going to talk about a little bit more, but that's kind of another rule, is anything to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Anything to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So like 2 to the 0 is 1, 7 to the 0 is 1, triangle to the 0 is 1, negative 3 to the 0 is 1, Miss Fike to the 0 is 1, anything to the power of 0 is 1. All right, let's look at some practice. We're going to work through some of these together on the next slide. Okay, so we're going to kind of chunk this. These are easy problems for you to just write down on a piece of paper and then kind of follow along here. So we're going to kind of break this up. So I want you to pause the video real fast, and I want you to do this chunk on your own, and then unpause the video and check your work. Okay, hopefully you did this. You did this before you pause to do these problems before you're looking at the answers. And you should have 1 over 5 squared, 1 over 6 cubed, 1 over x, 1 over y squared. Anything, remember, to the power of 0 is 1, and then 1 over 7 cubed. So the idea is if you have a negative exponent, it swoops downstairs. Okay, so I told you on the last slide that we would look at what happens when something stays on the top. So we're going to talk about this next group here, and I'm going to walk you through the first two, and then I'm going to have you check your answers. So if I look at this problem here, okay, the x has a negative exponent on it, but the y does not. So here we go. Because the y has a positive exponent, we're not going to do anything with it. It stays, whoops, that's yellow. Oh, well, it stays upstairs. What's happening? I lost my marker. Okay, it stays upstairs. So it's going to be y cubed. And then the x, then the x part of it, because it had the negative exponent, it moves downstairs. And when you move it downstairs, you make the exponent positive. We're not allowed to have negative exponents. So the negative exponents get voted off the island. If you have a positive exponent, it just stays where it's at. So if I look at this next one, all right, I have a negative exponent of 10 to the negative 3. So that's going to get voted off the island and go downstairs. It becomes positive when you move it. And then the y, because it had a positive exponent of 5, it just stays up top. So I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try the next 4 problems, and then we'll talk about it. So you can try the problems, unpause, check your answers. All right, these are the answers. So the first 2 were just like the 2 I walked you through. K, if you don't see an exponent on a variable like this x right here, it's assumed to be a positive 1. So x to the first would have stayed upstairs, and then you would have moved the y. Oh, too bad. That should be a positive 4, not a negative 4. Good golly, Miss Fike. So that should be y to the positive 4th there. And then on letter L, both variables should have moved down to the bottom because they both had a negative exponent on them. Okay, so now let's talk about what happens if the exponent that's negative is already downstairs. So what do we do if it's already downstairs? Well, it still gets voted off the island. If it's downstairs, it's just now going to go upstairs. So here I have this negative exponent downstairs. You're not allowed to have a negative exponent. So because you have a negative exponent, it's got to go. Well, where's it going to go? Well, it's downstairs right now, so it's going to go upstairs. So it's just going to come upstairs, and you make it positive. Okay, letter R. This one is negative. It's downstairs, and so it's got to go upstairs. All right. So I want you to pause the video and try these next 6. All you are doing is moving the piece that has the negative exponent. You're going to have to look at each piece, each variable or number, and you ask yourself, is the exponent positive or negative? If it's positive, it stays. If it's negative, it goes to the opposite place that it started at. Okay, so try it, unpause the video when you're done, and check your work. All right, hopefully you've had a chance to work through all these problems, and these are the answers. So all I did was move my negative exponents. So if it was a negative exponent, I moved it either up or downstairs, depending on where it started. And if it had a positive exponent, I just let it stay where it was. That's all there really is to negative exponents. It seems kind of foreign and a little strange, but we don't like negative exponents, just like we don't like negative people. Well, I mean, we like all people, but we don't like negative exponents. We vote them off the island. All right, and that is really it. So I am going to have you just try a real quick assignment in Schoology just to practice this. You guys do not have to feel like experts at this. I am just trying to expose you to this rule. So don't freak out, and I will see you soon.